we keep nice and busy. We just had one of these in another room. And as you know, this is a great group of governors, very distinguished governors, and we're having a meeting. We had a victory just a few moments ago on the internet sales tax. A lot of states and cities now are going to be benefiting from what's going on. And it's a big, big victory for the governors in this room. I know they wanted to see that happen, and I don't think it was a surprising victory. It was the right thing to do. It was a 5-4 decision, and the Supreme Court just came down. So I have a lot of happy faces in front of me. That's good. It's going to be a very good meal. But I want to thank you all for being here. I thought I'd go down while the press is here. I thought I'd go, maybe we'll go around the room. And Mike, congratulations on the ascension.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
President.
something
Thank
I hear you really deserve, and congratulations.
Thank you very
You might
much.
want to say a few words to the press.
Well, first, it's an honor to be here today, to be with for the President of the United States to take time out for the governors across this country, and especially for my home state of Missouri, who we're so proud of the leadership in Washington right now and the things you're doing. So we're proud of that. But, really today's, for us, it's infrastructure and jobs in Missouri, like many of the other governors are sitting here. But that's what's important to me, and I just appreciate having an opportunity to be here with the President of the United States to be able to discuss those issues.
Thank you very much. I hear Josh is doing pretty well out there.
Josh is doing well. We're
That's
going to
good.
be working hard for him.
That's good. I hear he's doing really good, really great.
He is.
And Matt, you have sort of set records in what you're doing in your great state that I love very much, Kentucky. Special place, and you really have done a job.
Thank
Say
you.
a few words, please.
Sure, I'll simply say this. I mean, I'm grateful. What has brought many of us to town is Select USA. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has recognized that in a world of geopolitical instability, there really is nowhere that is as likely to have upside potential for investors as is the United States, period. And so we as states, we compete with one another, but we're all on the same team at the end of the day, which is to bring investors to the United States. And when someone comes to any one state, all of us benefit to some degree given the integrated supply chain. So I'm excited to be here talking to a whole lot of investors from around the world. And I'm grateful, as was just noted, to have a president and an administration and a vice president who have been CEOs and leaders of states and businesses who understand how business gets done and who listen to governors and who delegate responsibility to states, because this is the greatness of America. And so I appreciate your willingness to hear us and your willingness to support us as we work to make each of our respective states stronger economically.
And Matt, I might add, has a record number of new businesses going into Kentucky, and I want to take full credit for that, but I have to give him at least some. You have done a really fantastic job, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ivanka, do you have anything to say?
Well, it's a great honor to see so many of you here, and we've spent a lot of time with many of the people around the table, particularly on the issue of workforce development, because as the economy is growing so rapidly and it's so robust, for the first time in history, there are more vacant jobs than there are people to fill them. So I've worked with so many of you on different programs within your state that ensure that people have the skills, training, the vocational education they need to fill those jobs. And we have a lot more great work that's going to be coming out of this White House in collaboration with each of you. So it's really an honor to be here today to discuss that and to discuss the skills that are needed in your states and how we can help you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Ivanka. Governor?
Well, Mr. President, thank you for hosting us. We're honored to be here with you as always, and thanks for what you're doing. I'll just add to the conversation by saying this. You've done a lot of good things to help improve America's outcome. Make America Great is a slogan that's becoming a reality. What I really appreciate, though, is that you have, in fact, reached out to the states. Vice President Michael Pence has said to me, the thinking should be, is this something that the state should be involved in? Is this something the state should do and get away from Washington, D.C.? I think the trap we find ourselves in too much in Washington is this one-size-fits-all mentality, not respecting the differences that the states have in their different regions, different demographics, different cultures, different politics. But your administration, much better than the previous administration, has reached out to states and said, we want to know what you think, what you can do, and maybe put more responsibility back to the states. That's, I think, a secret for continued success for this country.
Great. Well, great job. How is the million square miles that we just gave over, ceded over to you. How is that doing? Everything good?
You know, again, the public land stays public land.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that the narrative is such that it's always been public lands and will continue to be public lands. It's just going to be better for the local people there as far as how they can manage and help the federal government manage it, particularly when it comes to the needs for the Navajos and the Native Americans.
Right.
This is really a win-win. So we thank you very much for what you've done. to help
I've had
us.
so many calls from people in Utah. They're so happy about, what took place. And
Finally, somebody
they never
in
thought it was going to
Washington-
happen.
Finally, somebody in Washington is paying attention
Yeah.
to the public land states. We're not many, we're just a few. And if you're east of the Rocky Mountains, it's public lands, what's that? But in the Intermountain West, it's a big deal for us for endangered species, access to energy development, tourism and travel. I mean, all those things need to be put together in a balanced approach with common sense. And you've helped bring the common
Well, your
sense.
two great senators pushed me very hard on that. And when I looked at it, I said, that's a natural, so it's good. So say hello to
Well,
everybody.
I will do that, and I think you're sure going to have another friend that's going to support you too.
Good.
And Mitt Romney.
That's all working out, right? That's all moving along. Good. I think he'll be excellent. I endorsed him. I think
And
it'll be excellent.
he's mentioned that.
Good.
So
That's
it's
good.
working.
It's got to be working. Good. Say hello to him. Thank you, Governor.
Mr. President, let me join with the rest of my colleagues in thanking you very much for this opportunity. A little bit about Idaho. First off, I've had more cabinet members in Idaho. I'm in my 11th and a half year as governor.
Wow.
And 6 years in Congress, 14 years as lieutenant governor. And this is the first time in all of that time that I've had more cabinet members in Idaho than ever before. Your folks, because like Gary, like Utah, Idaho, 65% federal government, either Forest Service or Interior. And your folks have been fantastic. In fact, they govern more of Idaho than I do as far as the land mass goes.
Probably true.
But it really has been on a big upswing for us. We're now at 2.9% unemployment, the fastest growing state in the nation in terms of numbers.
Wow.
The fastest growth in personal income in the nation, again for another year. And right now our economy is rocking around 8.6%.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And I got 500 million in the bank.
That's fantastic. That's not bad, right? That's a little different than a lot of places.
And I got a 67% funding, pardon me, a 97% funding on my retirement fund.
Well, that's good.
For public
That's good.
employees.
That's
Everything's
unusual to
great.
hear that. Boy,
Keep
you
it
are
up.
doing well. Congratulations.
Keep it up.
That's good. You've done a fantastic job, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
That's a great place. I like it. I guess they like me based on the numbers, but I tell you what, we've had great experience there. What makes it so good? What's doing so well? Because you are you're just about at the top of the heap in terms
Right,
of
we
percentage
are.
gain.
Well-
What's making it so good?
One of the things that we did in 2009, I created the first community college in Idaho for workforce development because I had a bunch of jobs I couldn't fill. Even though I was at like 2.9, pardon me, I was at 9.2% unemployment at the time. But we had the jobs, but we just didn't have the skills. So I created this community college called the College of Western Idaho, about 8 miles from where I was born. And we started off with 1,500 students. Today we got 33,000 students. So I've created another community college. So every portal of education, every portal of skill development for the needs of our workforce we're creating. And right now, my workforce is over 850,000. It was less than 700,000 when I became governor.
Fantastic job.
Great.
Thank you, Rich. That's a great job. Should
Thank
be
you.
proud of it. Mike?
Well, Mr. President, I just join you in saying it's a privilege to welcome some of America's most outstanding governors back to the White House, and Governor Parson, to get a welcome on your first time in this capacity as well. I think Governor Herbert said it well. We have a president who believes in state-based innovation and reform, and these governors represent some of the best and most dynamic leadership. We've seen your states not only prosper as you've advanced policies at the state level and taken the new freedom and flexibility this administration has given you in so many ways to improve the lives of the people of your state, but also I want to express appreciation for the way in good times and in challenging times the governors sitting around this table have worked closely with this administration on behalf of the American people. So I just extend the warm welcome of the President and our whole administration to each one of you, and thanks for your great leadership.
Thank you, Mike. So Scott Walker has done an incredible job as governor. And I went to Scott and I said, Scott, I think we have Foxconn, we could get him. And when I brought Foxconn, now Foxconn makes the laptops and the iPhones for Apple, and it's one of the great companies of the world, one of the biggest companies in the world. And I said a long time ago to Tim Cook, of Apple, I said, I will not be satisfied until you start building your plants and others start building. And you are really, as usual, you're the first. They are building the biggest plant you've ever seen in Wisconsin. And you know, when I gave them over to you, I said, I don't have to make another call because it was like a vice, right? And you pulled it off. So I want to congratulate Scott Walker. That is going to be, what's 15,000 jobs, I think, in that one place, and they're going to be, from what I'm hearing, they're already talking about expansion. And we flew over a site, and it was very interesting together. I said, what's that? That was a car company that had left. It's this big site, good location. I said, that would be good, and you said, that's the site. But when I handed them over to Scott Walker, it was over. I didn't have to waste any more time, right? You took it over, and they're building. How far advanced are they?
Well, the great thing is they've already started moving around, preparing the site. Wilbur Ross was great to have me, and we brought one of the individuals in from Foxconn today at Select USA and highlighted that. It's the largest economic development project in the state's history, one of the largest in American history, and it's the largest foreign direct investment in America. And it would not have happened without you. You brought it to America. We just grabbed the ball and ran from there. And so we're absolutely thrilled about that. We know it'll not just be the jobs. It'll be the ripple effect, right? It's all the others. A good example, Oshkosh Corporation, which is also based obviously in Wisconsin. They make most of the armored vehicles for the military. They do business every year with about 700 companies in our state and 140 different communities, about $300 million a year worth of business. When Foxconn is fully operational, they'll do 4 times that. So it's just a massive effect all across the state and really across the Midwest. So 2 quick things for you to say thank you on, other than just having us here today. One, Ivanka, you talked about, and last year you joined us at one of our technical colleges with you, Mr. President. In advance of Foxconn coming, we've got 2.8% unemployment, the lowest we've ever had in the history of the state, one of the lowest in America. And so workforce for us is just critically important. We've more than doubled the amount of youth apprenticeships in our state. Our next stage is to take that into 7th and 8th grade, to start academic and career plans in 6th grade, to get young people to look at career opportunities, and then to get them right into apprenticeships, which I know is something you and the administration have been pushing. And the other thing is, it hasn't come up here today, but I want to tell you personally, on behalf of the people of our state, thank you, because the tax cut in our state, the typical family, not what you hear in Washington, but what our Department of Revenue showed, a family of 4, 2 parents working, on average about $45,000 a pay each, so good middle class jobs, 2 parents working, 2 kids at home, save $2,508 each year because of your tax cut. That is not crumbs. Those are real dollars that will help working class families in our state. We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. I have to say about Scott Walker, he was the first one to tell me that they're having a hard time getting into Canada with their dairy products, right? And Scott really brought it to my attention better than anybody else could have. And we're going to get that situation straightened out. You know, it's not a pleasant thing, but they've gotten away with it for a long time, and it's not fair, where they send their product to us, but we can't send our product to them. And Scott Walker did not like it, and I don't like it, and we're going to get it fixed. So let, in particular, your farmers know that I'm with them. There may be a little bit of pain initially, but ultimately we're opening up markets that they never even thought possible. You know, Canada charges a 275% tariff on dairy products. You do a lot of dairy products. And that's not fair. That's like putting a barrier up. That's like saying, don't even bother. That's the same thing as a barrier. So, you know, we're working on it, right?
And I told Secretary Ross earlier today that the best thing you said at the G7, the ultimate goal is let's just get rid of all tariffs. You were brilliant to point that out. That's the ultimate
They
answer.
thought I was a big tariff guy, so I said, I have an idea, folks. Get rid of all tariffs and all subsidies. Get rid of everything. Get rid of... They weren't very fast to take that, right? They weren't too fast. I wasn't surprised, but they weren't. But a lot of people like that. Thank you very much. Great job, Scott. Governor, he's the easiest job in the whole world. He's the governor of Puerto Rico.
That's right. Thank you so
I
much.
think we helped you a lot, and you're doing a great job. That is a tough job.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for this opportunity. And for allowing us to have constant communication with your staff. I think it's been critical so that we can voice our concerns, so that they can obstacle bust. I know Doug over here has been very helpful, and there's been some very challenging times in Puerto Rico. I think everybody knows this, and we're now at a path where we're starting to reach normalcy, and now it's really the big opportunity to rebuild. First of all, I want to thank you for signing the supplemental bill that gives Puerto Rico the resources to rebuild, and we've had a phenomenal relationship with HUD. Now I would just like to take a few seconds to voice at least what my vision for Puerto Rico is in the coming years.
Right.
I see a Puerto Rico as you see the United States, open for business. Let's take away the obstacles. Let's eliminate the bureaucracy. Bevan has the little scissors over there. We have them in Puerto Rico as well. I see a Puerto Rico that becomes the connector of the Americas. Of course, we're a part of the United States, but we can expand in South and Central America as well. It could be a very great opportunity. I see Puerto Rico as the center for the human cloud. Jobs are becoming geographically independent. Folks, I think, are going to want to live in Puerto Rico with all that we have to offer, and a platform for innovation. And the last thing, Mr. President, is that I see Puerto Rico as a place for equal treatment. And I wanted to state that everybody that's sitting on this table, all of the governors are governors of state, except for me. I am the governor of a territory, and it is important, Mr. President, for you to know that our people, the people of Puerto Rico, have chosen twice in the past 5 years that we don't want to be a territory anymore. We want to be a state. We want to be treated in equal treatment. We want one American citizenship, just one American citizenship, and I think this is a great legacy that your administration could pursue, that give a path forward to the people of Puerto Rico so that we can finally have that equality and end what we call the unfinished business of American democracy. And using your words, sir, you want to make America great again. I think we can make it greater and expanding it to include Puerto Rico as a 51st state.
Well, thank you, Ricardo, very much. And Ricardo is going to guarantee us 2 Republican senators. Is that correct? Well, that process may go very quickly. It might be a very quick process.
I guarantee Puerto Rico will be a battleground state.
You've really worked very hard.
Thank you.
We've been there together, and Ricardo inherited a power plant that was virtually useless, and it was in bankruptcy. It's been in bankruptcy for a long period of time, and many of the other places were in bankruptcy, and tremendous amounts of money owed. And you got in. You've been working really hard. And he was very brilliant. He blamed the hurricane for destroying the power plant, and he's doing very well. I'll tell you what, the people of Puerto Rico are being well represented by this man because we like him and we respect him. And we are working on that power plant, and it's it's very big numbers. It was bad before the hurricane, it was bad after the hurricane, but we have some great talent over there. But just say hello to the people. They're great people. They've endured a lot. That was as bad a situation as I've ever seen.
Well,
But it's getting done.
Yeah, thank you for your commitment. Again, you've always answered our calls, the Vice President as well, and your staff. And right now, I can announce that yesterday I signed a bill to empower the transformation and privatization of the energy grid, so that we can start not only making it a little bit better, but actually make it into a model of the Americas. So again, Puerto Rico is the place to be, and we want to be full partners with the United States. That next step would be to become a state.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you,
job,
Mr.
Ricardo. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, we've got a great group of governors here today who want to work in partnership with you on opioids and combating the opioid epidemic, on workforce, apprenticeships, vocational training, and they're really good partners, and they want to help make their states better in partnership with you and your administration.
Thank you very much. And, while we have Alex here, and we did it a little while ago, but if you could give just a brief summary of what we've done on healthcare, because it's so exciting. It's association healthcare. It's millions and millions of people. It's never been done on this scale, and it's actually getting larger. It's going to take a tremendous group out of the disaster known as Obamacare. And Alex Acosta, please. Secretary of Labor.
Certainly, Mr. President. We were chatting about it briefly before you walked in, and this is so important. The current healthcare system is really hard on the employees of small businesses. The regulatory burden that Obamacare imposes on small businesses is so much greater than large companies. And if you think about it, why are we putting the regulatory burden on these small businesses of all instead of, spreading it equally or reducing it equally? And so association health plans allow all the small businesses around the nation by industry or by geography to band together and to access health care as if they're a large company. Same protections, same rules. The regulatory burden drops, and it drops substantially. Again, the same protections as the employees of the large companies, but less regulation, more scale. You can spread the administrative cost, you can spread the actuarial risk. This is a big deal. The estimates are between $1,900 and $2,900 in savings per employee. And just this morning, already, chambers of commerce in states around the nation have stepped up and said, we used to have these. We want to have these again. And so I'll be in Tennessee tomorrow, meeting with local small businesses and their chambers and talking about this. And we've already talked about this in the context of Kentucky and Missouri. And we are, as I look around the table, we've been partners on so many issues, WIOA issues in Indiana, opioid issues. Our approach, the president's approach, has been to work with each of you. The issues of Indiana and Idaho are different. Puerto Rico and Oklahoma are different. It's not a one-size-fits-all. We'll work with your states to make sure that these association health plans can flourish. It's going to save thousands of dollars per employee.
It's going to be millions of people signing up, associations, and you can have an association of one also, the way we have it. But it'll be millions of people. We're actually now expanding the groups, and we're going to starting in a few months, you'll get an even expanded group. It'll be tremendously competitive, will cost the government nothing, and people will get a much better price than they ever dreamt possible. And it's a very, very exciting thing. It's as big as you'll ever see. And when the expansion goes into effect in a couple of months, that's going to really show something. So I want to just congratulate you. Actually, you've worked so hard on this. But this will be millions of people are going to come off and use this as an alternative to the really failed Obamacare. And step by step, that's being dismantled. Essentially, it is dismantled. And once we got rid of the individual mandate, which was such a disaster for all of you, where people had the privilege of paying a fortune so that they didn't have to buy insurance, okay? They got nothing, they just paid, and that's gone. And that's something we never think of, but we should add that when we talk about the tax cuts. That's part of the tax cut. Nobody ever talks about adding that, where people were paying for the individual mandate a lot of money so that they don't have to go in and pay for health care. So they were paying not to have health care. If you add that to the tax benefit, which frankly nobody ever thought of, but I think you can put that because it is in the same tax cut bill. So I think we should maybe put that down in the formula. But Alex, it's so exciting, and people will save thousands and thousands of dollars and have much better health care than they had with Obamacare. Thank you very much. Kellyanne, could you say a couple of words about the opioids?
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. All the governors around the table represent very different populations. They have different geography, politics, certainly demography, but they all share this crisis in common, and we call it the crisis next door. And Mr. President, due to your leadership, just this week in Congress, where bills are being passed overwhelmingly bipartisan, Congress previously hearkened your call to allocate $6 billion for opioid funding. That's on top of the SAMHSA grants, that's on top of CARA, Cures, 21st Century Cures Act. They're giving the resources that we need, but we're also giving the respect that is necessary also to help those in need destigmatize, to break through that silence. Many Americans tell us, Mr. President, that we're not punishing the drug traffickers enough and we're punishing the addicts too much. And through your leadership, we are reversing that. The new ads are being broadcast in everybody's states and territories right now. The first tranche of ads, we've partnered with the Ad Council, 75-year history. We've partnered with the Truth Initiative. And also, these bipartisan bills are going to give much needed relief. Your three-front approach to this, prevention and education, including a 30% reduction in prescriptions over the next 3 years, is going to bend the curve in the right direction. In addition, increasing access to treatment, addiction, I think overdose reversing drugs like naloxone, the governors in this room are by and large getting a handle on that to make sure people have what they need. And then, of course, increasing interdiction in law enforcement. It's a sad commentary, really, that most Americans don't know what fentanyl is. It's responsible for 20,000 deaths in 2016 alone. And just 3 weeks ago, out of Nebraska, there was a seizure of enough fentanyl to kill 26 million Americans, 26 million. And we don't get the message out there enough, really, as a society. The First Lady's Be Best platform also includes this as a very big piece, and I'm happy to say that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid very recently provided guidance to the states on how best to use Medicaid dollars to help neonatal abstinence syndrome babies. We have 100 newborns every day born in this country struggling for their first breaths. And I think the elevation that you and the First Lady and the entire cabinet, legislatures, and of course your co-chief executives out in the states, the governors, is making a big difference. Finally, since Secretary Acosta is here and we're talking about workforce development, these go hand in hand. We have 6.7 million unfilled available jobs right now. Many people are failing the drug test, and we're trying to treat the whole person. This is why, in addition to DHS and DOJ and the VA and obviously HHS, we've involved in our opioids cabinet activity HUD and Department of Labor, so that we're treating the whole person, connecting them with the skills training, the education, the opportunities they need if they are fortunate enough to go through drug court programs or treatment and recovery programs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much. And you know, the First Lady now is at the border.
Yes, indeed.
Because she doesn't like what she was seeing, and I don't like what we were seeing, and we have to get together and do something on immigration. And as you folks know better than anybody, that has to take place very quickly. But she's there, and you've worked very closely with her. And I'll say something about Kellyanne. She's a warrior. We can send her into the most unfriendly territory of media, and it's like, don't worry, I won't use any names, but don't worry about it. Oh, I'd love to do it. Whereas other people, we say, would you do so-and-so? Oh, could you please pick Kellyanne? You are a warrior, Kellyanne, and you have been for a long time.
I love the country. Thank you for
Great
this opportunity
success.
to serve it.
And Eric, you have very big shoes to fill from Mike. Eric is the governor of Indiana and took Mike's place. How's he doing, Mike? Good job?
Doing an excellent job.
The word is very strong. Very strong. Eric?
Thank you,
You're
Mr.
doing
President.
great.
Thank you for having us back. And I have to be somewhat diplomatic about talking about all the records we're breaking in Indiana. Especially in present company.
Be careful, Eric.
But I'm proud to be at this table, proud to stand with you, and proud to be in the room with another Hoosier as Vice President. We are on a roll. We're rocking and rolling. We just had another record year of new job creation, brought in emphasis, which is 3,000 new jobs coming to Indiana. You spoke to this. The Vice President celebrated with us on that announcement. We've got a record-breaking roads and bridges program, not debt financed, all paid for. But the key is workforce development. Workforce development is economic development in today's world. We are so thankful that you, it's been said here multiple times, really trusting states. The federal-state partnership, I don't think, has ever been stronger in my experience, and I wanted to say thank you to your whole administration. Secretary Acosta been to our state multiple times, and we just received a waiver that allows us to start driving the ship on workforce development programs. We have streamlined, aligned, integrated according to what our state's needs are. We have a 3.2% unemployment rate. That's about 105,000 Hoosiers. We got about 105,000 unfilled jobs that we've got to connect people to the skills to get to those jobs. They're there waiting on them. This is going to allow us to do that faster. So we didn't have a day to waste, and you made it possible for not wasting any time whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And you're doing fantastically, and appreciate it. And Mary Fallon's been my friend, governor of Oklahoma, and been my friend right from the beginning. And I remember the speech, one of my earliest speeches, I called Mary, I said, how many people are showing up? She said, at least 35,000. I said, what? 35,000 in the park. Remember the park? And what a scene that was. We had a band shell and the people were surrounding it. You couldn't see on the other side. But Mary's been so incredible and done a great job as governor of Oklahoma. And what would you like to say?
Well, thank you, Mr. President and Vice President. It's always great to see you too. And I have to say, I'm finishing up my last year as governor of the state of Oklahoma. And so I've had the opportunity to work with presidents before, but the amount of time that you, the Vice President, and your cabinet gives to the governors is truly remarkable. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking about how many times I've seen you in the past 30 days or had an invitation to come to the White House the last 30 days. It's been about 4 or 5 times in 30 days. And that's pretty remarkable for a
That's
governor.
because you keep rejecting us, otherwise.
Just one time. Just one time I was busy. Just one time. Keep inviting me back.
I know, I will.
But in all seriousness, to be able to sit down like this with the governors one-on-one and to hear from you about your vision, your policies, where you're going, which we've done quite a bit on this weekend of Select USA, and then have the opportunity to talk to you one-on-one about the issues important to our individual states and how we can work together as a team has really made a difference. And I think that's why we're seeing strong gross domestic product growth, why we're seeing your tax policies working across the nation, why we're seeing the engagement that your agencies are having on regulatory reform to create a better business climate so that we can attract the jobs and have the low unemployment rates that we've been experiencing. And then just your voice, your advocacy, your leadership on important issues like opioid and substance abuse, and hear the focus that you're putting on trying to get Americans back healthy so they can hold their families together, get back into the workforce, and certainly stay out of our criminal justice systems. And I know that just a month ago we had a criminal justice reform summit that you hosted, and what a difference we're making in the transformation of being smart on crime, but yet also keeping dangerous people off the streets. It's really making a difference. And of course, the workforce issue is incredibly important, and your leadership and your vision, your emphasis on apprenticeships and workforce training and really reaching down to the younger folks to show them all the different career opportunities is helping us fill those empty jobs and being able to meet the needs of the employers so we can grow our jobs in America. So a lot of great things happening. The energy sector is coming back
Right.
strong in the
That's
state of Oklahoma. We appreciate that, and thank you for a lot of the policies that are making that possible in our state. So we just appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and visit with you today and look forward to having
Thank you,
further
Mary.
discussions.
So great. Such a great job you've done. These are terrific people, terrific and really successful governors. And thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. We're leaving now.
We're looking at the possibility, yes. We are looking at the possibility. And with other leaders throughout the world, but we are looking at that possibility, yes.
Can you clarify if you're going to continue prosecuting families who come across the border, the parents?
We have to have a very tough policy, otherwise you have millions and millions of people pouring into our country. We can't have that. We have no choice. We have to have a very strong border. If we don't, you'll have millions and millions of people. It'll look, what's happening today, look like child's play. It'll be a terrible thing if we ever did that. So we have to be very, very strong on the border. And if we don't do it, you will be inundated with people. And you really won't have a country anymore. You know, without borders, you don't have a country. I've said it for a long time. And you would effectively not have a country. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.